This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
ESPN Radio. This is the Thundering Herd Podcast.
Oh, it's the Herd on ESPN Radio. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening, thanks for making us part of your day. Presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests via the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Simulcast on ESPNU. Live from 75-degree Los Angeles. Or at least it will get there eventually. Great to be here today. We have a lot today. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of football. Yeah, football. So I did not watch the ESPYs last night. I've been at ESPN 11 years. I watched them 1 year. The year Jamie Foxx hosted it. He's funny. I like him. I watched that year. I hear highlights and stuff. Plus, I was at a hotel last night. You ever go to a hotel out of town? And all the affiliates are different, you know, depending on where you're at. In Los Angeles, NBC's Channel 4, ABC's Channel 7, CBS Channel 2, Fox Channel 11. Every town you go to, it's like different. And then they have a different cable service. So maybe it's Comcast, maybe it's somebody else. You never know where anything is. So it was delayed on the West Coast. So I was on Twitter for like 5 minutes, and it was like this guy won this award, and this person won that award. And I'm like, awesome, let's turn it on. I couldn't find it. Like 15 minutes, I'm like, where's it at? I didn't know we were delaying it. I just moved out to Cali. I've lived on the East Coast for a decade. Everything's live. I was like, where's it at? And then I just went and watched something else. So I didn't watch the show. I know what happened. I saw highlights. A lot of guys seem to be bothered by Caitlyn Jenner winning that Courage Award. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but my breakfast tasted the same. You know, eggs, fruit this morning. It's delicious. See, I have this weird gene. My DNA is apparently unique. Stuff I can't control, I don't allow to control my emotions. Colin, I am outraged. Bummer, I'm 6'2", $184, sexy wife, healthy kids, never been happier. That's a you problem. You can't control it. I'm not letting it control me. Last night, Caitlyn Jenner was a message of inclusion. That was it. Big picture. The award should have gone to... It's an award. Settle down, Sparky. Best Supporting Actor, NBA Coach of the Year, Courage Award. LeBron's ESPYs probably left in the back of a limo. It's an award. Tchotchkes, knickknacks. They don't change who people are. They don't change societies. They don't change how you think. They don't change the truth. They don't even rarely change opinions. We argue over them. I know, I see that military picture everybody now on the internet's tweeting. Sweet, hot take, local radio icons. I read these messages all the time. I'm a Christian, I feel persecuted. You can be as Christian today as you've been in the last 50 years. You just can't control the message from others or what's on your television set. It's called a remote, cowboy. Use it. People are different. Accept them. That was the big message last night. I didn't watch it, but I didn't need to. And if you're angry over the ESPYs, that's you. We don't control your emotions. We don't control your television set. You do. Get therapy. You know what the guy will tell you? What you can't control should never control you. Take a deep breath. It's summer. It was a message of inclusion. And it was an award. That's what it was. It was an award. Good to have you in today. There's all sorts of stuff out there. Boy, isn't there today. And I got to tell you a story that deserves at least. It deserves at least a mention on this show. I'm not sure how many people are going to mention this. I really don't. It may not be mentioned by another show today, and that's okay because this is not a lead story. But I've said this before. People show you how much they love you. Believe them. If your girlfriend ignores you, if your husband's not there when you need him in crisis, he's telling you how much you mean. Believe him. So last night, the city of San Diego held a big meeting, 6 p.m., Qualcomm Stadium, to decide the future of the San Diego Chargers. You know who showed up? They ended it after 10 minutes. You want to know who showed up? A lady named Dottie. And she was in a hurry. Her sciatic nerve was acting up. San Diego's got the zoo, the weather, parks, views, SeaWorld, Comic-Con, Gaslamp District. People in San Diego, they jet ski to work. Buffalo and Cleveland need the NFL. San Diego just doesn't care that much. There's a picture in the San Diego Trib, I imagine. There's Dottie. Or is it Maryland? It looks like she's asking at the big meeting, is this floor orthopedic friendly? I've got to get to the pharmacy. It closes at 7. Hell, she's 84. She probably thought she was at her nephew's house. The point is, San Diego's entire NFL future is hanging by a thread. They hold a big meeting. 10 minutes in, they cancel it. Nobody was there. City officials, and I'm reading here, said there are multiple possible explanations for the low turnout. It said it may mean people plan to submit comments by email later to sandiego.gov. Yeah, let me give you a few explanations for the low turnout. There were some awesome swells down at Mission Beach. I don't know, it's 78 and beers are $3 near the roller coaster. People show you all the time how much you mean. Believe them. There were $2 drafts in Old Town. That's why nobody showed up. Get to Subway for the new turkey and bacon guac today. Subway, eat fresh. Look at Dottie. Look at Dottie. She wants her Chargers to stay. Enough. Let's not make fun of Dottie. The pharmacy, she missed it. The pharmacy closed. All right, we got a Des Bryant story. Nick Saban's out of his mind. And once again, I'll tell you what outraged me at the ESPYs last night. I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to tell you on the other end. I'll tell you what outraged me. And the new baseball commissioner, I like him. He's cut 9 minutes off the game. I like him. But he said something yesterday. Oi, come on, you're killing me here.
Is this a tease?
Colin Cowherd.
The Thundering Herd Podcast.
I love these phonies. You see these phonies all the time. What bothers me about the Courage Award is how society is being force-fed the media to celebrate transgender lifestyles. No, you're not, you big phony. Nobody's going to your house giving you a pom-pom and demanding you celebrate it. You're a phony. You're a complete phony. Nobody's forcing you to even watch it. It's called a remote. Use it. I've been at ESPN, the company that airs the ESPYs. I never watch them. It's an award show outside of the Oscars, and I only care about 6 awards in the Oscars. I don't watch award shows. I don't watch the Tonys. I don't watch Grammys sometimes. I don't watch award shows. I work at ESPN. I didn't watch the ESPYs. Couldn't find it in my damn hotel. It's like on channel 38, and I couldn't find it. And I was reading it on Twitter, so I went to YouTube and watched the stuff I was supposed to watch this morning, and that's fine. But I'm being force-fed. God, if I have to hear that from the right, again, I am being forced. I'm being forced to do anything. Well, what do I tell my kids? They're your brats, not mine. Parent them. It's a teaching moment. Mine are tough enough. I don't want to deal with yours. What do I tell my kids? Don't have kids if you can't figure out what to tell them. All right? Don't have them. Here's what, first of all, the award I was really proud of, I thought it was incredibly fitting, was LeBron winning the ESPY for the championship performance. I think any reasonable person can agree that was right on the money. The one that outraged me was that LeBron had to beat out the very worthy Madison Bumgarner and Triple Crown winner American Pharaoh. Can we stop nominating horses for awards? They're beautiful but obsolete transportation. Let's stop it. If that horse on his own started a race, if he left the gate halfway through, he'd stop, wander, and look for lunch. Can we stop it? Sports Century on ESPN named the top 100 athletes of all time a decade ago. Secretariat was ahead of Walter Payton. And Mickey Mantle, and Oscar Robertson, and Mario Lemieux, and Jerry West, and Dan Marino, and Cy Young. Secretariat was. Sorry to be cynical, but Dr. J didn't need to be whipped to hit an 18-footer. That's what I'm outraged about. You don't have to put Bill Russell down after he turned his ankle. Stan Musial didn't need a saddle. That's what I'm outraged about. Can we stop nominating horses for awards? People are worked up over Caitlyn Jenner. American Pharaoh was nominated. I could barely sleep last night. And congratulations to LeBron James. Stanzik was absolutely fit to be tied. But congratulations to the best championship performance from the great LeBron James. Do we have the cut how classy he was afterwards, John? Fitting that LeBron once again was classy when it was all done. He gave credit to the team, the great Golden State Warrior Club. Let's play that.
Second place got me this. This wasn't expected at all. But thank you, first of all, to the other people that was nominated. You guys are unbelievable. To the Golden State Warriors, I seen Steph, Draymond, Dre, Clay. You guys were unbelievable and deserved everything. You guys inspired me once again. I needed that. And I'll take the second place award, and I'll take it to my house, too. Appreciate it.
Very classy. So, as I said to start the show, I see all this mock outrage, and I'm being forced to do this, and I'm being persecuted. You're not. Stop it. I mean, we got now, you don't even watch TV anymore. People watch Netflix. My kids watch Netflix all day. They don't even turn a television on. Netflix, 31 sports networks. There's stuff to watch all over the channel. If I work at a company and don't watch an award show hosted by it, why do you have to watch it? It was a story about inclusion. Take a deep breath. We're all okay. ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today and find out if you could save. Hopefully they didn't switch during their commute. I would say wait till you get to work. So that the Dallas Cowboys paid Des Bryant a contract I would not have paid him. They paid him 5 years, $70 million. A lot of it guaranteed. Ton of it guaranteed. 32 bills guaranteed. I would have franchised him. I don't care if he would have been upset. He has sat 5 games since becoming a Cowboy. They're 3-2, which is really what they've been on average the last 5 years, about 3-2 through 5 games. I don't think he's great with his finances. I'm just going to roll the dice on that. Stories I've read, 7-8 games in, he'd be looking to make money. Now, here's what Jerry Jones said, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. It is, they made the deal. I wouldn't have made the deal. I would have franchised him. If he sits, he sits. 7-8 games in, he'd realize he's bored. He'd want the paycheck. But here's Jerry Jones.
It's in the best interest, and it's also, as it turns out, in Dez's best interest. There was never a doubt in my mind that we wanted a long-term deal with Dez. We just had to get the pot right.
First of all, none of these owners want to pay $50 million to a loose cannon at wide receiver, regardless of the talent. Second of all, and I've said this for years, wide receivers are overpaid. They become home run hitters. Fans fall in love with them. They don't win games. A, they're dependent on their quarterback. B, Seattle and New England had a below-average wide receiver cores and were the best 2 teams in the league last year by a long shot. And for 4 years before that, San Francisco was with a below-average wide receiving core. You know who has a great wide receiving core? The Bears and the Falcons. And they even have decent quarterbacks. Calvin Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Deshaun Jackson. Those guys have played on fourth-place teams more than first-place teams. College football is now giving you a dozen good ones per year. Wait until you see some of these guys that got drafted this year. Guys walk into the league now and can play. I tell you, I follow recruiting. It used to be high school recruiting, there were 50 good running backs in the country. Now there's 4, and there's 100 good wide receivers. I'm in Southern California. There's 12 kids here that will play Division I. 8 will probably have a shot at the NFL. Des Bryant didn't have any leverage. Listen, if you play in the NFL, unless your position starts with Q, I'm not paying a $32 million guaranteed. Sorry. If it starts with W, R, C, nope. Buffalo's got a great roster. They're bad at quarterback. They haven't made the playoffs for 15 years. The Patriots, the Seahawks, the Niners are getting to Super Bowls. Way below average at wide receiver. I think wide receivers have become the sports car of pro athletes. You can use them sparingly, sexy but not functional, lousy mileage, not very efficient, give you a handful of moments, but often it's about ego and vanity. And I've said this about home run hitters in baseball. I am just shocked. I mean, you look at some of these contracts for home run hitters, Josh Hamilton, Pujols, Joey Votto, Ryan Howard, Jason Bay, Joe Mauer didn't hit a ton of home runs, Giancarlo Stanton. Those were bad contracts before the ink was dry. I don't get it. He had no leverage. Franchise him. Let him pout. My kids pout all the time. I won't give them ice cream for breakfast. You'll be hungry by lunch. 7 games, 8 games in, Des Bryant would come back. The franchise, with a great quarterback, great O-line, and an upgraded defense, caved to the petulant young wide receiver. Don't get it. Wouldn't have done it. Straight ahead, Doc Rivers. They keep DeAndre Jordan, but does that mean they keep some chemistry problems? That, more, next, live from L.A., The Herd on ESPN Radio.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
I'm not sure if I've had Doc Rivers on the show before. Clippers coach, former Celtics coach. Have we had Doc on? I think one time. Doc, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you? I think you have had me on, but I don't remember when either. I guess we're both getting old. That's why we moved to California.
Thanks, Doc. So, the DeAndre Jordan situation, I'm a media guy. I saw it from the outside. Take me through your emotional roller coaster. How did it play for you, Coach?
Well, the beginning part didn't play very well. I get a call from DeAndre's agent and telling me that DJ is not going to stay with us. That stung me. Coaches put in more than just coaching players. You build a relationship. And DJ and I have and had an amazing relationship. And so when I got that news, Colin, that was, that hurt me. You think that he would stay. I was positive he would stay. And then when you get that news that he's not, you're shook by it. And then, the rumblings started pretty much right after that DJ was having second thoughts. I got calls from players and others that DJ wanted to change his mind. And then when finally DJ and I talked, that was the only amusing part for me. After DJ came back, I kept hearing Mark Cuban talk about he was owed a call, and that's silly. In my opinion, I don't think anybody's owed anything. Heck, I didn't get a call from DJ when he decided to leave. I got a call from the agent, and we had a 2-year relationship. So I don't, that part I was amused by. But when DJ and I finally talked, he said it. Coach, I want to come back. And, so once we had that discussion, I knew we were back in the ball game, obviously, and I thought we would get them. But unfortunately, it it played out in front of everybody. You've been in business a long time, and your job, and you've seen guys make tough decisions, and you've seen guys change their mind, but you have to right. It just didn't play out publicly. And, like, I didn't know the whole, what is it, emoji or whatever those things are called.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was going on, you know, while we were at DJ's house. I found out about that when I got back to my hotel room that night, and I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah. You know, Doc, it is, and I think it's a much better fit, and I was surprised, too. And I just thought, I think you have a championship-level team, at least offensively, I'm sure of that. Let me address something, though, Coach, because though I don't know you personally, I know a lot of people who do, and they've always said that the strength to you, it's a Joe Torre strength. Players like you get the temperature in the room. You've always had good locker rooms. You get strife. I mean, you dealt with Rondo and made it work, and he's not the easiest guy. But let me address this, and you tell me how fair it is. I hear DeAndre and Chris struggle. Chris is intense. DeAndre, maybe he's laid back. Some of it has to be true at some point, or it wouldn't get out. Were you ever last year? Was there a moment when you said, guys, we got to bridge this? Were there times that you were worried about Chris and DeAndre's relationship?
Not to the point that it was played out. That was overblown. But as you said, there's no doubt that when players, you know, it was more our team, not Chris DeAndre. The funny thing about DeAndre and Chris are very similar. Chris is a very intense guy, and even though DJ smiles a lot, DJ is every bit as intense. And so when you have that on the floor, you're going to have your occasional blow-ups, but not a big deal. Not as big of a deal as it was played out, I can tell you that. Having said that, you know, me as a coach and reading about this and hearing about all this, the whispers, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. And you know that. And not more those two, just more as a team in general. We have to do a better job, you know, and I always take that first from me, not the players. You know, I saw it at times, you know, arguments and stuff, and that would, again, those two, just as a group, I think that's part of a team's fabric. That it carried on after the season, I didn't like. But I think what people forget, Colin, is how we lost. You know, we didn't lose a normal way this year.
Yeah.
We had a 3-1 lead. We lost to Game 7. That's as hard of an emotional loss as there is other than losing in the finals. And so, you know, the good thing that's come out of this is when we all went over to DJ's house, everybody had a say. It was a great team-building thing. It was something that I was fearful of going into the summer, that at some point our team was going to have to address our collapse. And, you know, very similar to the Spurs, I guess, when they lost to the Heat. And Pop said it took them months before they got together. Well, the good thing that came out of this is we've had that talk now, and now we can move on and kind of start building our team back.
Yeah. I appreciate your candor. You're being brutally honest. I've always been concerned about a crowded business card. Head coach, GM. It's tough. It's hard to be good at one. Is it fair for the critics who say, Doc's a good coach, GM, he's hurting himself? Is that fair?
Well, I don't know. You know, I had 1 year at it. You know, and I think by the end of this summer, it'd be interesting what people think about what we've done with this team. And, you know, then if we win, you know how this business is. If we won the title this year, I'd have been a pretty good GM. You know, we lost, so I'm lousy. And I accept it. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with any of that. I think this year, when all is said and done, you're going to look at what we've done to change our team, and I'm going to be very happy. I don't know if everybody else will, but when you look at our cap struggles, which I adopted, and what we've been able to do in it, I'm going to be very pleased. It's still, at the end of the day, it's all paper. You know, you have to win. This is a win business. That's it. And I tell my players that all the time. We can have all the names we want. We could think we've done a great job this summer as far as acquisitions and building this team. But at the end of the day, it's a wins business, and you have to win.
Steve Ballmer, Doc Rivers joining us. Steve Ballmer was known at Microsoft as brilliant but intense. I had a source I trust tell me that he can be tough to work with and that it wasn't always easy as his first year as owner of the Clippers. How often do you feel pressure from your owner?
Never. He's been wonderful. You know, I've heard those rumors as far as when he was at Microsoft, and all I know is the guy made $24 billion doing something right. You know, and he built a company that is one of the more outstanding companies in the world. So, you know, was there strife and tension? You know, I thought Bomber gave a great perspective in the whole DJ, Chris, and our whole team thing playing out publicly. He said, hey, him and Gates, you know, had their days. You know, the difference is usually it was in a boardroom or in an office, and no one got to read about it. You know, but we had our days, he said, and but we forged ahead because at the end of the day, it was about us protecting our company and doing a better job, and we figured it out. And that's very similar to our team.
Yeah. You going to
but
golf?
He's been great, Colin. He's been supportive. He's allowed me to do my job. So I couldn't ask for a better owner.
What are you doing in California today? Are you golfing? Like, what would you do in July right now? What are you doing?
Well, we're going to sign. We got to finish our roster. So vacation starts for me probably in about 4 days. And then you're right, the golf course. You know, people will be able to find a lot of golf balls because I leave them there a lot. So I'll be back out on the golf course.
All right. Well, get those contracts signed. Don't go with a handshake deal, Coach. You get that paper, you get that ink signed, and we congratulate you on getting DeAndre because that's where he deserves to be. Thanks, man.
Oh, thank you.
Want more of The Herd? The Thundering Herd Podcast.
Welcome back. Doc Rivers just stopped by. That was nice. That was excellent. Certainly appreciated that. Do you mind? Hold on. I know this is unprofessional, but it's Southern California. There's a drought here. There's very little water around. I just saw a bottled water. I wanted to grab it before it was needed somewhere in the state. Great to be here. Man, I was reading a story this morning because I'm out west now and my body's on the east. I was reading a story this morning, and I don't know. On Twitter I follow a lot of magazines and stuff, some long form stuff. That they're going to have an earthquake in Seattle or Washington State, and it's basically going to rip off my hometown and send it out to sea. Like, people are always like, how can you move to California? They may have an earthquake. Well, according to the story I read in New Yorker magazine, Microsoft is in big trouble because half the company, like, they've got like 9 buildings, 4 will be drifting out into the Pacific within 2 years. You know, it could give you waterfront property on both sides of your house if you live in Seattle. That would be fantastic. Oh, there's the Union Bay and there's the Pacific Ocean. Double the value. It's now worth $2 million. That's a scary story. I read it. I was like, wow, that's my home state. Better call my sister. She lives on the beach. Sell. So Commissioner Rob Manfred runs Major League Baseball, right? And I like him. I think he's pretty progressive. He has lopped off 9 minutes per game this year. That should not be understated. Okay, just don't pass over that. 9 minutes per game. You think the NFL could cut off 9 minutes per game in 1 year? NBA? I doubt it. Baseball's beholden to tradition. Rob Manfred deserves a lot of credit. He has lopped off 9 minutes per game. I'd try to double that. I doubt it'll ever happen. They'll probably get to 12, 13, and that's fine. I've always argued it's not about the time, it's about the activity during the time. But he said something yesterday, and I have my first beef with Rob Manfred, who I sort of like. He said he's thinking about adding more franchises. Oh, super. Terrific. Yeah, like Oakland and Tampa are humming right now. Like Miami is the Yankees South. Go look at the list of all new franchises in all the sports since about 1985. Most aren't viable, aren't destinations, and are chaotic. But Colin, the Miami Marlins won a couple of World Series. They're still a mess. They're not viable. They're chaotic. They built a new stadium. Nobody still cares. You can have a good year. Doesn't make you a good franchise. Okay? If you're going to add any team to any city, my suggestion, I do believe Philadelphia does deserve an NBA team. But if you look at the last 6 baseball teams, Mariners, Blue Jays, Rockies, Marlins, D-backs, Tampa Bay, they've had their moments, but are they viable? Now, I'm not counting places like Houston, which had a team, lost it, and got one back. Or Seattle, if they get an NBA team, had it, lost it, they deserve it. I'm not talking about the Minnesota Wild. Had a team, lost it, they're a viable market that proved they could support it. I'm talking about the New Orleans Pelicans, the D-backs, the Predators in Nashville, the Rays, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Titans, the Arizona Coyotes. It's a who's who of irrelevant. The Jaguars, the Toronto Raptors have worked their tails off. If they left tomorrow, and I love Toronto, would the league be in trouble? Panthers, Miami Marlins, Tampa Bay Lightning, San Jose Sharks. I don't care about the on-ice, on-field product that's good in the moment. Those franchises are at times chaotic and not very economically viable. College sports is about mid-sized markets, smaller towns. Pro sports has long been about bigger cities. And I love Phoenix. Nobody likes Phoenix more than I like Phoenix. It's not a 4-pro team market, and I like Phoenix. There's not enough Fortune 500 companies, and it's transient. They're about a 2.5 team market. Seattle's about a 3. Portland's a 1. L.A. could be 7. But, this whole thing, all you're doing is adding roster spots, and you're going to have a diluted product. By the way, when that new team comes in, can I get tickets at half price because they've got a roster full of AAA players? Rich owners get richer, fans get a diluted product. I don't buy it, and I like him as a commissioner, but I don't buy it, and I never had. I got a list this morning, so listen to this. I asked my guys on the staff, I said, guys, give me a list of the cities being mentioned as teams or cities that don't have a pro franchise but want one. You know who's at the top of the list? Albuquerque, New Mexico. You ever watch an episode of Cops? Like 3 out of 4 are in Albuquerque. No, thank you. Roanoke, Virginia is another one. Everybody loves Roanoke. Listen, you got a Panera Bread and a minor league hockey team. Settle down. El Paso gets mentioned. Seriously. I went to TripAdvisor this morning. Of the 2 things they tell you to do, one is go to the Concordia Cemetery. The other is go to the National Border Patrol Museum. And you want an NBA team there? Tucson, Arizona gets listed. Phoenix barely supports a couple of their pro teams. Birmingham, Alabama, which is growing. They've got a pretty good food scene, but it's Alabama. How many free agents in sports will seek it? And I love Las Vegas, but half the city works at 7:30 at night. That's opening tip. That's first pitch. I love Vegas, but nobody goes to Vegas and says, God, are the Milwaukee Brewers in town? That's not how people think. They're looking for a craps table, a swimming pool, a nightclub, Kim Kardashian. Great sports cities have all their passion directed at their local teams. In Las Vegas, everybody has a different favorite team. What about the Packers? They're embedded in the NFL. They're grandfathered in. The Packers got that franchise a zillion years ago. It's a different culture. You couldn't do that today. And there's a lot of things in life. They're grandfathered in. They work. They wouldn't work today. The name Redskins. You would never name a team Redskins today. It's embedded in, grandfathered in, and we allow it for the time being. You wouldn't name a team that. Want to pay for more stadiums, fans? See a diluted product? All right. For expansion. Seriously. 8 guys get rich on that. Owners.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt, frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
I was saying I don't understand why we just can't live with the fact that medium to small cities get college teams and maybe one pro team. And then most pro teams deserve to be in big cities that have the travel capabilities, the infrastructure, the hotels. I got this from Robert in West Virginia. Why do you always make fun of small towns? Everybody doesn't want to live in a crime-infested big city and more freaks in L.A. Yeah. You know who you have to be worried about? Guys in militias. Yeah, that live up in the hills by themselves. I'm never, ever in peril, in danger around someone who's transgender. I am angry guy in the hills. Yeah, the guy in drag in West Hollywood. Doesn't bother me. I don't bother him. Yeah. Angry guy, lives in a cabin, has more guns than a military base. Yeah, military Unabomber. That's who scares me. Loner, rural, can't socialize, keeps his anger in, doesn't like anything new or different than he is. That's what scares me. Rural Alaska, I'm not going down that road. I've always said, if a road isn't paved, I'm not driving down it. If the government says, listen, there's no reason to put pavement here, I'm not going down that road. I don't care where it's at. If the government's not interested, I'm not interested. Interstates don't scare me. Gravel roads that go deep into the hills. When squirrels are your best friends, worry. Nothing to be afraid of here. I make my own gunpowder. Exactly. Give me the guy in drag in West Hollywood. Yeah. That email, everybody in those big cities is a freak. No, really, I live in it. It's fine. We're all okay. You just stay there. We'll stay here. But pro teams, they should be mostly in major markets. And if you get smaller cities like Indianapolis, they can have one or two. They've proven it. Cincinnati. But we're trying to just keep adding and adding teams. Go look at the last 25 we've added. They're mostly chaotic. And even if they've had some on-ice or on-field success, they're not go-to destinations. You want rich guys love expansion because there's something called expansion fees. And you have to pay like $500, $800 million just a fee to get into the league. Well, where's that money go? To the owners. Okay? So they love expansion. They all get a $37 million check or more. Here's a story yesterday, because we were talking about something more serious than sports, fighting cancer, and what a show yesterday. So proud to be part of it. I didn't talk a great deal about this show, but it really got me rankled up. But I said yesterday, I'm like, I'm doing a different show. But, I look at this stuff, and Nick Saban yesterday, every year he goes to the SEC Media Days, and he's got a talking point, something he wants to get off his chest. Nobody asks him about it. He just wants to get it off his chest. And he's upset now. He doesn't like that after his last game of the SEC Championship and that long layoff before the playoff game, that, his players, they find out they're going to get drafted in the first round. Here's Nick Saban. Listen.
Last year, our team chemistry from the SEC championship game to the playoff game was affected by something. I think that to have a December 15th deadline from when a junior can submit for a draft grade, and then you get that assessment back, sometime right before or right after Christmas, and then you have a playoff game coming up on January 1st or 2nd, and I think it's my obligation as a coach to inform that young man when I get that information, because it's his information. It's not my information.
Yeah, it's funny. So you're the only guy with NFL players, Nick? Yeah, I watched the game. Ohio State has as many as you do. Didn't seem to bother them. You know what your problem was? It wasn't chemistry. You got out-coached, out-quarterbacked. Their athletes were better in space. Ohio State beat you. For the record, this is the downside to recruiting five-star athletes. I've talked to several coaches on this. The problem with recruiting all these five-star guys, and the fans love it, they've got ego and entitlement issues the minute they step in. They come to school with one eye on the NFL, so alter your recruiting. Happened to Pete Carroll. They all come in, they are 75% college kid, 25% got to get to the league. Kentucky's dealt with some of that. It's the reality. Lou Holtz used to say at Notre Dame, I recruit 24 guys a year. Give me 12 who are superstars and 12 who would die to wear the Notre Dame uniform. There is a downside to stacking your class with five-star athletes. You can only start 22, and last time I checked, you have special teams. If you go look at Urban Meyer's history, he doesn't recruit all five-star guys. Somebody's got to be the gunner on the special teams. Somebody's got to back up. I mean, every company can't be CEOs. Somebody's got to be in maintenance. Somebody's got to be in sales. Somebody's got to do the heavy lifting. So let's be honest about Alabama. The football world has changed, and their physical style, run the ball, pound it, is a turnoff for a lot of great high school quarterbacks. And the no huddle has hurt Nick Saban because he can't coach as much as he wants. Bama's issues aren't what they think they are. Bama's issues are, it's a changing football world. Last 2 years, they've not only lost 4 games, they could have lost 5 more. They could have 9 losses in the last 2 years. There was a Mike Tyson quality about Alabama for about 5 years. Same with USC. Same with Mac Brown at Texas. Same with Urban at Florida. The dominant traditional programs, conferences weak, they get rolling in recruiting for about 4 years. People don't want to play them. People didn't want to play Pete Carroll's USC teams. But then players start leaving. The program gets glamorous. Coaches start leaving. I mean, how many offensive coordinators has Alabama had in the last 3 years? This is not about, some of our guys, the NFL, what, did Ohio State have no NFL players? This is about the game is changing. Get better at quarterback. Your defenses are big and powerful, but they're not very nimble sometimes on the perimeter. Your secondary stinks. Your quarterback play is average. That has nothing to do with the NFL. Celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, or just because. Can I take one call? Can I take one? I got somebody that wants to put a team in their city. They're all lined up. Everybody wants to give me Andrew. Andrew, where do you live and what team do you want?
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Colin.
You have an NFL team, a baseball team, and a hockey team. Why would Pittsburgh need a fourth?
Let me tell you. We have a brand new state-of-the-art arena in the Console Center.
Yeah.
The town has been completely revitalized in the last 10 years, but tech and medical jobs coming in.
Yeah.
There's a growing middle, young class with lots of money to spend, absolutely nothing to do, and as a result, the entire town, everybody's bored, everybody's drunk all the time, and they absolutely love their teams, rabidly love their teams.
Yeah.
No better
guess what? The Pirates couldn't draw flies for 20 years when they didn't win. By the way, you've got 3 teams. You're not Minneapolis. You don't have that income, that money. You don't have the Fortune 500s. You're not Houston. You're not Atlanta. You're Pittsburgh. It's a nice city, but you're lucky to have 3. If you had an NFL team and a baseball team, that would be enough. Virtually every team in America could have one less team, almost all of them, excluding the cities that have just one. But, I mean, really, the NFL doesn't have a team in Los Angeles. The NFL's fine. Like the NBA can't live without Pittsburgh. They're doing just fine. If you're going to add a team, give the NFL to Los Angeles. We'll hold Super Bowls. We won't have to deal with hailstorms. But, everybody's got an idea. Roanoke, El Paso, Tucson. There's a reason they don't have them.
You're in the Herd. The Thundering Herd Podcast.
I didn't watch the ESPYs. What happens, I can't watch all the games I talk about all the time, start to finish, so I come in their video packages. And, I watched the stuff that I needed to talk about. Whether it was a great speech or not, I just kind of roll my eyes at the outrage on the Internet. You're not outraged by Caitlyn Jenner. You don't even care about the ESPYs. Stop pretending like you're deeply moved. You're angry in your life, and this is where it lands on this issue. You go on Twitter and you find the guy outraged about this, is outraged about everything. He's lonely. He's single. He's divorced. He's pissed. He's got a crappy life, a crappy job. His kids don't like him. You go read his previous 38 tweets. He's mad at something. He's mad at something on CNN, then something on Fox, then something on MSNBC. Not a single friend I have, not a single one, is outraged over Caitlyn Jenner. And for the record, I've had disagreements with a company I work for, ESPN. They've never told me what to say, ever. Now, I've got more leverage than others. I have a bigger platform. Sometimes they don't like what I say. They never tell me what to say. I'm not saying this because I work here. I've said it all along. We're growing in a world. Look at what Netflix is doing to television. 65 million subscribers. Reed Hutchins is building the scariest company in the world for broadcast execs. They have created something where kids now are watching shows on Netflix. That's the world. And we live in a world now where people that have not had a voice and people that have not had power and influence now have some. You're not being persecuted as a Christian. Turn the television. You just don't get to dominate other people's views and lifestyles. It doesn't bother me or anybody I know. I am outraged. Go to the Twitter, put the military picture on, tell me how outraged you are. Come on, you're not. You know it. You're not. You've got kids, they're at soccer practice, you have a beautiful wife, you're busy. If you're spending a lot of time and you're outraged by it, now I'm a radio host, it's different, I'm going to talk about stuff, that's my job. But if you're selling insurance and you're outraged by it, really, you got to look in the mirror when you go to the bathroom tomorrow and just stare at yourself. It's just somebody's living their life the way they want to. It's an award. I mean, I said earlier, LeBron James won an ESPY. He probably left it in the back of his limo. They're tchotchkes. They're knickknacks. I've won 5 in my 25 years of broadcasting. Do you know where they are? Me neither. In a box somewhere. ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. They have a Name Your Price tool. As far as the Cowboys and Des Bryant, Ken, you're in the Herd. Fire away. Thanks for calling. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ken. Apparently, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead there.
I want to talk about the quarterbacks. You said you would not pay an elite person that's not a quarterback. Andrew Luck's not on the market. Aaron Rodgers, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson are not on the market. You get J.J. Watt, what's Houston supposed to do? Let him go? And then they're left with Brian Hoyer?
Absolutely. Yeah, and then pay more for a quarterback. Yes, and J.J. Watt doesn't win games. He sells jerseys. There's value there, but the NFL revenue is sharing jersey sales. So, I mean, Des Bryant, to me, what's the leverage? Where's he going to go? He's got a contract. Franchise him. Let him pout for 6 games. The bottom line is I want to always be as cash flush as I can. I'm not going to let players dictate outside of quarterback what I do. Now, I will overpay for the quarterback because the market dictates that. I mean, Ken, go ahead. You're in the Herd on ESPN Radio, Ken. Are the phones okay? Ken, can you go ahead? Yeah, we lost him. Ken was going to tell me that Dez is more important to Dallas than Russell Wilson to the Seahawks, it says on the screen. Let's start with no, he's not. Russell Wilson gets 70 touches a game. Dez gets 4. I mean, these people, we don't have huddles anymore in football, right? We don't have huddles anymore. It used to be 47 snaps a game. Now it's 67. That's why the quarterbacks become so crucial. If you had an average quarterback, if you had a great running game, you could hide him. You could win a Super Bowl with a B- C+ quarterback. You can't anymore. Because now I've got Tom Brady and you don't. And that's 22 extra snaps. I can expose your weakness. You used to be able to get to the Super Bowl with Brad Johnson. You can't anymore. The no huddles changed everything. And if I get 20 extra snaps and I've got Russell Wilson and you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, you're not beating me 3 out of 4 times. We may play poorly once. You get a few breaks on penalties, a fumble here and there near the goal line. But you look around the league right now, that's what I said about the Buffalo Bills 2 days ago or yesterday. That's a great roster. They're lousy at quarterback, not making the playoffs. Great roster. I mean, just unbelievable roster. Let's go, Aaron. Let's try the phones one more time. Aaron, you're in the Herd on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
Sir, are you there? Am I on?
Yes, I am. Go ahead. You bet.
All right, great. I was at the ESPYS last night and getting to listen to Bruce Jenner's speech, and it was very awkward at the beginning because it was like he was talking about transitioning and the female thing. But my take on it is you're born either a male or a female, and that's what you have to accept.
Who says it? Who says it?
It's just, that's the way it is.
No, time out. Who says that?
God created a man and a woman. He did not create you to be both. And
Who says? Who says?
God did, and I go by the religious standpoint.
Okay, but God did. The Bible says a lot of stuff. We used to stone women.
Well,
Old Testament.
Unfortunately, that's just what I take from it. And you just
okay,
have to
that's what
accept
you
it.
know. And first of all, you went from God says to you say. Aaron, you're not God. You went from God. Well, you just told me that's the way it is because that's the way I see it. You're not God.
Well, I hate when people put it in front of your face. I don't want to see
They're not.
this.
You chose to go to the ESPYS, meatball. Nobody forced you to go.
I actually had a great time until she came out.
That's your problem. That's your problem. Nobody forced you to go. Nobody's throwing it in your face. You bought a ticket. Nobody forced you to go. Stay home.
Well,
nobody forced you to go. I hate how they forced me. What? Did security come to your house and drag you to the ESPYs? Deal with it. Typical God says. Yeah, you know what God told me? He wished you didn't show up. You dragged the whole night down. I mean, give me a break. I don't like how this stuff is thrown in my face. Close your eyes. Go to the bathroom. Don't go. Turn the channel. Phonies. I mean, this stuff it's thrown in my face. I was in Los Angeles last night. I worked for the company that put the ESPYs on. I didn't watch. Not interested. You knew he was going to be there. You went because you wanted to be part of it. By the way, I just saw the television rating. It was huge. Guy wants to go to be part of it, knows Caitlyn Jenner is going to be part of it, then bitches about it. Not interested in your hypocrisy. Andrew, you're in the Herd on ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
Hi. The whole Caitlyn Jenner thing, I think it's blown out of proportion because he didn't do anything for 40 years other than say that he was a woman. He's beating people like Lauryn Hill, the girl from Ohio, battling cancer, still playing sports, and what has he done recently?
That's your definition of courage. I'll give you an example. Here's a great example, Andrew. If I said to you, what's the definition of a man? In a sentence, define what a man is. What is a man to you?
It's not about what he's done. That's great.
No. Andrew, I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you, you're saying he's not courageous. You're defining courage. For example, what is a man to you? What symbolizes a man?
I don't think that there's a definition of a man.
Bench press, owning a nice car, having big muscles, being a good dad, values. There is no one definition, is my point, Andrew. And there is no one definition.
That's not the argument I'm making. The argument I'm saying is that
you're making the argument inarticulately that there's one definition of courage, and there is not. There is not one definition of courage. Transgenders are being attacked by the less civilized and the more bigoted. You can't define courage, nor can I. You can't define what a man is, nor can I. I think it's being a good dad, being disciplined, being responsible, elevating others around you, not being as self-centered. That's my definition. A lot of guys think it's having a gun rack in the back of their pickup. Nobody can define what courage means. So don't call my radio show and think you have the definition, the Webster's definition. You've never been transgender. You've never been gay. You've never had people threaten you. So who are you, heterosexual white male, to lecture somebody else's issues? You have no idea. So don't try to define it on a radio show. It's The Herd.
Check out The Herd with Colin Cowherd weekdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNradio.com, and on ESPNU. The Thundering Herd Podcast. The Boston Red Sox begin the second half with a road trip to the AL West, where they'll face Mike Trout and the LA Angels.
Dives in, and he made the catch!
First pitch is Sunday at 8 Eastern on ESPN and on ESPN Radio.